Hello, everyone. I'm Billy Younger, and I'm here to solve some physics problems for you. This one's kind of interesting. It's got a little trivia in it, but it's mainly about unit conversions. So it can be used for conceptual physics. Some conceptual physics require unit conversions, but it definitely can be used for typical algebra-based physics, often called college physics. It can also be used for university physics, which is calculus-based physics. So let's get started by reading the question I have in mind. So let me share a screen. So here's a question, and I've got the resources cited, or citations for the resources, I should say. So what is the highest altitude on Earth, i.e. the highest above sea level? And what is the lowest altitude on Earth? Express them both in feet, miles, meters, and kilometers. So according to these particular websites from NOAA, that's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they have some very interesting figures. It turns out that, generally speaking, we call Mount Everest the highest elevation on the surface of the Earth, but there's some ambiguity in that. For instance, if you want to know the tip of something that's farthest from the center of the Earth, then you have to go to Mount Chimbrazo, which actually, because it's near the equator, it's making use of the actual enlarged radius of the Earth that happens around its equator. And in that case, it's actually 20,560 feet and 6,268 meters above sea level, but that is about a little bit larger in distance from the center of the Earth to the tip of it. Similarly, if you want to know the tallest mountain from the base of the mountain to the highest mountain, then that's Mount Mauna Kea. And Mount Mauna Kea, of course, is quite high, but the problem is the base is at the bottom of the ocean. So its actual height is 33,500 feet and are 10,210 meters. So again, this is according to NOAA. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and use the typical Mount Everest figure for the highest spot, and that's 29,029 feet. And then I'll use basically a part of the Marianas Trench called it's actually called Challenger Deep, and that's actually quite deep. So let me start with that, and we'll just see how the units convert. So let me stop sharing, and I'll start sharing with my iPad. So now I'll start sharing my iPad. And while my computer's getting ready for that, I will go ahead and select this computer, turn it on. Okay, so now you're looking at my iPad, and what I've told you is the highest, well, given the caveats that I already told you, the highest is Mount Everest. If you're interested in Mount Everest, you might want to read the book Into Thin Air by John Krakauer, which I think was written in 1995 or something like that. It's really great, but its elevation is 29,029 feet. And you can actually convert that to meters, even though most websites, when you look up that particular height, which is what those links were for in the previous page, when you look up those heights, it'll only give you the meters as well. But I'm going to go ahead and show it to you in terms of conversion. So first off, 29,029 feet. What we do is we always multiply by 1 such that the units we have disappear and the units that we want remain. And sometimes that takes multiple steps. If you're rusty on how to convert units, then by all means do a search on my YouTube channel for unit space conversions :space multiplicative, multiplicative. So that's me explaining how to convert units, at least of this variety. So what I'm going to do, actually, instead of making a multiply there, I'm going to make a instead of making an x there, I'm going to equal there. I'm going to make an x there for multiplication. So first off, what I know, if I want to convert this to feet, to miles, I know that in fact there's 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. So if I take this figure and divide it by 5,280, then I'll get 5, using the proper number of sig figs, by the way, 5.4979 miles. Notice I only had 5 sig figs to work with. 5,280 is exactly the right number. So the only thing that limited me was the 29,029. So I got 5.4979 miles. That's pretty high in the sky. In fact, if you were to, at least according to John Krakauer and other people I've heard before, if you were to drop someone there at the top of Mount Everest, say from a helicopter, if it could even make it there, they would probably die rather rapidly just because of the decreased oxygen. You actually have to acclimatize yourself quite well to get to that elevation. But we also asked for not only in feet, but we wanted in miles, meters, and kilometers. So let me go ahead and convert that to meters. So for instance, I know that 29 feet, again, over 1 can be converted to meters by, first I'll convert feet to inches. So 1 foot equals 12 inches. And then I'll realize that 1 inch is exactly 2.54 centimeters. By using this conversion, I'm only limited by the number of sig figs I put in as to the number of sig figs I get out. So now I've gotten it. You can see that the units are canceling out from feet to feet, from inches to inches. Now I'm up to centimeters. I wanted in actual meters. So now I'll say, I know that there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So this answer should actually give me meters. And the way you're going to calculate this is you're going to take 29,029, multiply by 12, multiply by 2.54. And technically, you're even going to multiply by 1 and get a new numerator. So 29029 times 12 times 2.54 gives me 884,803.92, but I only put 5 sig figs in. So really these first 3, 4, 5 are significant digits. And notice now that we have canceled out the centimeters and we're left with meters on top. But then we have to divide by 100 to make it actual meters. Actually, that part down there, it has no units once we did all the division. So ultimately, we see that the answer, at least in meters, is 8,848 meters, 0. That's actually to 5 sig figs. So if I wanted to carry 1 extra, I'd say a 4 right here. And I would put an underline there, and that's meters. So here's another answer. Here's another answer. So we've got feet, miles, and meters. And we also want kilometers. And of course, kilometers is the easiest of all of them. If I take 8,800, well, let me not change colors. If I take 8,848.04 meters and realize that there is 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer, then I easily get the result 8.84804 with 1 extra sig fig, and that is kilometers. So we see another answer for the highest elevation on Earth, again with the caveat that Mount Chimbrazo near the equator is the highest in the sense that it's farthest from the center of the Earth, its peak is, and that the tallest from the base to the top is actually Mauna Kea, which is 33,500 feet from the bottom of the ocean, which is where its base is, to the top of the mountain. And that's also 10,210 meters. So that's Mount Everest. Now, if we go for Challenger Deep, that's the next part. So the deepest is Challenger Deep. And there may be certain parts that are deeper than this, but this is the quickest part that came up with a Google search from a reputable source, specifically the reputable source was again NOAA, which part of our government. But their advertising is that Challenger Deep is in fact 35,876 feet. So that's the deepest part. So again, we would like to write that not only in feet, which we have, but we'd like it in miles, we'd like it in meters, and we'd like it in kilometers. So 35,876. Again, we're using 5 sig figs here. Feet. I'll put that over 1 just to make the conversions easier, so that people that are not that gifted in fractions won't make any mistakes. I know that, in fact, there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Again, that's an exact figure. So if I just divide this 35,876 divided by 5,280, I get 6.7947. And that's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sig figs, exactly what we had. I could put an extra sig fig in there if I wanted to. If I did decide to do an extra sig fig, then this last digit would be a 6, and this would be a 9, and this would be a 7. So these two would be underlined, meaning that they're not actually significant digits, as I did up here as well, and up here as well, and up here as well. So that actually comes out to be the answer in miles. So again, 6.7947. So you can see that the ocean's actually deeper than the tallest mountain is tall. So that's another kind of interesting thing. Now we have it in miles. I can now take the feet and convert it to meters. I'm going to do it the same way I did above. So 35. Oh, I still want to use red. I don't know why I started with red, but that's what we're going to do. So 35,876 feet over 1. And I'm going to say, all right, well, first off, I know that I would like to convert this to meters. So I should go to feet first. I go from feet first to inches. And I know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. And that gets me a cancellation of the feet. I also know that 1 inch, there I go again with my wrong color. I know that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. Again, that's an exact conversion as of like 1959-ish. So that means, again, we're only limited by the number of sig figs we put in. And now I'm down to centimeters, but I really want meters. So I'm going to say times, since I'm on centimeters, I know that 100 centimeters has to go in the bottom. I can't stop centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So again, as I told you before, we're just going to multiply all the numerators, get a new numerator, multiply all the denominators, get a new denominator, and then do division. And with this, you can see the ultimate unit left is just a meter on top and no unit on the bottom. So 35,876 times 12 times 2.54, technically times 1, is going to give me 1,093,500. So there I go again. 1,093,000. That's 4 sig figs already. 93,500.4. And since we only used 5 sig figs going in, this, and this are all insignificant figures. That's our meters. And then over here we have divided by 100 and no units on that one. So we can ultimately say that it's also equal to 10,935 0.0 meters, carrying again 1 extra sig fig. Okay, so that's how many meters the deepest spot in the ocean is as of the search that I did anyways. And then finally, we can convert this to kilometers easily because we know that we basically just have to move this decimal 3 places to the left because there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. But I'll go through the formal process, 935.0 meters. Again, I'll write it over 1 in case anybody's not that good with fractions. I know that there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. And again, the reason we can multiply this quantity, the 10,935 meters, the reason we can multiply that by 1 kilometer over 1,000 meters is because 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So this fraction is actually 1. Again, if you're rusty on your unit conversions, do check out my video, unit conversions, multiplicative. So in this case, we're going to get 10.935 0 underscore kilometers. Again, the underscore meaning that that is not a sig fig. But if you want to use an extra sig fig for calculations, that would be just fine. So that's it. That's the way you go about converting any particular distance to some other distance. The main thing, again, as always, when you're converting units, you can only add 0 to a number or multiply a number by 1 without changing it, at least in the arithmetic operation. So if you have a number whose value is important, like the height of Mount Everest or the depth of Challenger Deep, you don't want to change that if you're trying to convert units. So the only thing you can do to it is either add 0, that doesn't help us here, or you can multiply by 1, and then you just got to realize that 1 can be very specific. 1, for instance, can be 1 foot over 12 inches, but it could also be 12 inches over 1 foot, and so on and so forth. So I hope that helps. Have a good day.